Got a thumbs up and I have a voice. Yay. Alrighty. It is 1 o'clock. We're coming out of recess for the morning session to hear land use items. Amanda, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Thayer.
Here.
Commissioner Richardson.
Here.
Commissioner Schroeder.
Here.
Thanks. Alrighty. Before we jump in, just for the crowd, we've got a couple of items to hear today. Generally, for every public hearing, we follow the kind of the same sequence, even if they're different types of land use items. But we'll start with the staff providing a presentation and overview of the application. We'll ask the applicant to provide any other information they feel is pertinent. We may have questions for either staff or applicant at that time. We'll open for public comment. After public comment, if there is any, we may ask staff and applicant to address the issues that were raised. After closing public comment, we'll proceed to making a decision, and that may be to approve with conditions, or if we disapprove, or if we feel we need more information before coming to a final decision, we may ask, or the applicant may ask for a continuance. But seems like what we're looking at is fairly straightforward today. So I would ask for a motion to open hearing for the Sun Bear Estates rezone.
Mr. Chairman, I move we open the hearing for Sun Bear Estates rezone RZ 23-18837.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to open public hearing on this item. And with that, I'd turn it over to staff. And just one quick question. I know there was also a preliminary and final plat involved. Do you want to do these all at once and we'll open hearing for both? Or?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'll just go through the first presentation and straight into the second. And,
okay.
Yeah.
So I'll open on that. What's that?
Do you want to vote on going into public hearing?
Actually, I would ask for a friendly amendment to the motion to also open hearing on the preliminary and final plat for this item.
I amend my motion to include the two. The first one is RZ 23-18837, and the other one is preliminary and final plat FP 23-18837.
Will you re-second?
Second.
Okay. And we have a motion and a second to open hearing on both the rezone and the preliminary and final plats for Sun Bear Estates. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. So we're in public hearing. And with that, I'd pass it over to you, Danny.
Thank you, commissioners. Good afternoon. My name is Danny Klebanner. I'm a land use planner here for the Community and Economic Department for Elbert County. Today, I will be presenting Sun Bear Estates rezone and the preliminary and final plat. So this presentation is about a rezoning from agriculture to residential agriculture, and will be followed by a presentation for the final plat, which will have 8 10-acre lots. This is located at the western border of Elbert County and County Road 122. The location, to be more specific, is the southwest section 34, County Road 122. The applicant and owner is IPA Development and Steve McAnally. And Grace Erickson here is here as an applicant representative. So the process for this started last year in July with a pre-application meeting. That was followed by a community meeting September 8th. The application was formally submitted March 14th. The referral process took place from April 24th to May 15th. Recently, we had the Planning Commission meeting on July 18th, and here we are today, August 23rd. All noticing for this hearing was complies with Elbert County zoning regulations for noticing 14 days in advance. Here you can see the location right on the border. It's represented by that little yellow star right on the border there with Douglas County and just south of Elizabeth. Here's an aerial map of the parcels for rezoning. There are two 40-acre parcels off of 122, and that road is known in Douglas County as Anderson Ave, for people more familiar on the Douglas County side. Here's another aerial map. You can see the parcel in question bordered by the Chisholm subdivision to the east, and then there's Douglas County, the border on the west. Look at the zoning map. You can see the land to the south is predominantly agriculture. The subdivision to the east is known as Chisholm. There are lots ranging from about 9 to 24 acres, and that's zoned residential agriculture as well. And then just at the bottom of your picture, there's the Clearview Acres PUD. So this went through all these referral agencies, and the applicant has acknowledged and/or resolved all comments raised during the referral process. So for rezoning, we follow certain criteria. And Article 3 in our zoning regulations lists these criteria. The Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners are to consider these criteria in their review. And I will go through the 6 criteria. So the first is whether this proposed rezoning conforms and is generally consistent with the goals and policies of our comprehensive plan. So Elbert County does support residential development by encouraging a range of lot sizes and residential densities associated with available roads and infrastructure, and by encouraging the design of open space and the preservation of areas of visual, historic, and natural consequence. So a policy here that this conforms with is that new residential development should cover all costs of on and off-site roads and utilities required to meet the associated demands of that development. This subdivision will have a road. It will be privately built and maintained while conforming to Elbert County standards. The second is whether the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding land uses. And I believe it is. There's a 9.6 acre residential lot to the north, a large 87 acre agricultural lot nearby as well. And then to the east is the Chisholm subdivision with 6 residential lots bordering this subdivision that range from about 9 to 24 acres. And then on the Douglas County side, we have agriculture and residential area. And it's interesting to note that Douglas County is the fastest growing county by percentage from 1990 to 2020. So they're also a quickly growing area in our state. C, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact provision of public services. This RA zone lot will have, these lots in the subdivision will have their own wells and septic and private access off of County Road 122 and should not create any adverse impact to surrounding property owners. D, whether the proposed rezoning will adversely impact the environment. Since the future uses of the proposed lots will be confined to residences with limited agriculture, it is anticipated that the impact to the environment of this request will be minimal. E, whether proposed rezoning would create unreasonable traffic congestion. The increase in density proposed with this application will generate a limited traffic impact. And F, whether the proposed rezoning will not otherwise be detrimental to health, safety, or welfare of the inhabitants of Elbert County. The increase in density while retaining an agricultural context by rezoning from agriculture to residential agriculture in an area that has approved more dense development in the past should not be detrimental. The applicant has reasonably addressed neighbor concerns and questions from the community meeting and planning commission meeting, and has been responsive to guidance from staff here at Elbert County Planning to address concerns raised about this proposal. Staff believes that approval of this request will not be at the detriment of the county or surrounding neighbors. So our finding for the rezoning is that Elbert County Planning recommends to the Board of County Commissioners to approve the requested Sun Bear Estates rezone RZ-23-18837, subject to the following conditions. And there is nothing added than the general conditions: that the applicant will be required to remove the sign. The rezoning shall not become effective until all fees are paid. Recordation of all appropriate documentation is to occur within 180 days of Board of County Commissioners approval. So thank you for this one, and I'll move into the final and preliminary plat. Here's a look at the rezone area. Now we'll dive into the final plat, FP-23-18837, and all of the initial background and details are the same as the previous presentation. Same process. These are occurring concurrently, the final plat and the rezone. So a few key notes about the final plat. It's a rezone, obviously, from agriculture to residential agriculture. The lots here would be 10-acre lots, 8 10-acre lots. Access will be through a single private road named Imperial Point, located at County Road 122. The existing land has no structures. The northern lots will have building envelopes because they do not meet the width requirement, so setbacks basically are pushed further back in simpler terms. And then there are larger no-build areas to accommodate the Chisholm subdivision and the Douglas County property owners to the west. In the Planning Commission meeting, there were some alterations to the final plat made to include a 100-foot buffer on the west side as well to accommodate the Douglas County residents, so buildings will be further from the existing residential and agriculture located in Douglas County as well. For site access, there's a private road that's approximately 1,550 feet. It'll be 60 feet wide and end at a 100-foot diameter cul-de-sac. There's no ingress, egress on adjacent properties, and additional utility easements for Mountain View Electric are shown. One provision, local roads leading to a cul-de-sac providing to lots between 1 and 20 acres should not be more than 1,320 feet. And in Article 1 of the enacting clauses, there's a variations and modifications provision that says the BOCC may authorize minor variations and or modifications from these regulations in cases where due to either exceptional topographical conditions or other conditions peculiar to the site, an unnecessary hardship would be placed on the applicant. Such variations or modifications shall not be granted if they are detrimental to the public good. And the conditions of any variation or modification shall be stated in writing in the meeting minutes of the Board of County Commissioners meeting. For this road length, going slightly longer at 1550 versus 1320, we got with the county engineer, road and bridge, and there were no objections to the slight variation in length for this subdivision, and they said it would not be detrimental to the public or adversely impact others in the county. So one note or condition would be for the Board of County Commissioners to consider a variation under Article 1H for a variation in road length. This also went through all the same referral agencies and acknowledged all questions or objections throughout the referral process. So for final plats, Elbert County subdivision regulations list 8 criteria for subdivision requests, 5 criteria for subdivision requests. So A, whether the subdivider has provided evidence for water supply that is sufficient and quality in accordance to applicable state laws. So the water source was deemed adequate by the Division of Water Resources. They received all approvals needed for the 8 proposed lots, and the Division of Water Resources indicated after the augmentation plan approval that the water supply was adequate and would not provide injury based on Elbert County Subdivision Regulations 300-year water requirement. B, whether the subdivider has provided evidence to establish that public sewage disposal system is adequate for the preliminary and final plat. There is no central sewer system for this subdivision. Each individual lot will need on-site wastewater treatment systems or other recommended systems approved by Elbert County Public Health at the time of development. They'll need to submit the soil testing and go through the normal process for that. C, whether the subdivider has provided evidence to show that all areas of the proposed subdivision which may involve soil or topographical conditions presenting hazards or requiring special precautions have been identified by the subdivider. The applicant provided all this information. Soil testing, of course, will be needed for sanitation approvals at the time of development for each lot. And then finally, D, whether the application is following the requirements. The applicant has adequately addressed all concerns, and this application adheres to the zoning regulations and subdivision regulations. The only standard of concern regarding the roadway length is presented in this report for consideration and will be up for consideration by the Board of County Commissioners. And for the comprehensive plan, E, the final criteria, one goal is for water, sewer, and waste disposal. New development shall conform to state laws covering domestic water supply and septic systems. And another goal in the comprehensive plan is that the county should coordinate planning and development review efforts with towns and applicable referral agencies to ensure integration and continuity. This was referred to Douglas County, and they had no objections either. And then finally, for the natural resources topic area in our comprehensive plan, new development should minimize negative impacts to adjacent agricultural lands and designated open space. This will be subject to cash in lieu of open space to satisfy that requirement, and the applicant was even working on a dark sky provision to minimize their impact on surrounding agriculture and their neighbors. With this, Elbert County Planning recommends to the Board of County Commissioners to approve the requested Sun Bear Estates final plat subject to the following conditions. Remove public hearing sign. It will not become effective until all fees are paid. Recordation of all appropriate documentation to occur within 180 days. Fourth, to provide community and economic department proof of the Elizabeth fire flow requirements are being met. It'll be cash in lieu to Elizabeth Fire to meet that requirement. make payment to Elbert County for open space requirement. It will be 10% of each lot's appraised value. 6, finalize and sign the subdivision improvement agreement. This is in its final form. It just needs to be signed and executed after a potential approval. And then the 7th would be to authorize the variation in road length for this subdivision. So thank you for your time, and I'll leave you with the illustration of the final plat. Thank you.
Thank you, Denny. Excuse me. Any questions for staff at this time?
No, I'll wait for the applicant.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to invite the applicant or rep to present any other information you feel we need to have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thanks, Danny, for the presentation. I first want to introduce our team with Sunbear Estates that we have today. Steve McAnally with IPA Development, owner and applicant, and Chris Cummins, private counsel. Danny gave a great overview. I think the most important thing to mention again would be compatibility with the existing development north and east of the property. It's going to be zoned the same. We chose the zoning RA based on feedback we received at the community meeting. We also have buffers, as Danny mentioned. This is to accommodate the neighbors, their existing views of Pikes Peak, and additional buffers were requested from Douglas County residents, so we added those. One item to add that was not mentioned is we did dedicate 15 feet to Elbert County for future roadway improvements south of the property, just north of County Road 122. That is a major collector in Elbert County's transportation plan. Danny did mention that this is going to be a dark sky community. These are requirements we're going to impose upon ourselves and the CCNRs to mitigate light pollution. And lastly, regarding the roadway, there has been quite some turnover since we started this project with Public Works and Planning, as I know that you are aware. Initially, during pre-app, we discussed, a layout. It was still 8 lots. It looked a little different. We got feedback on the roadway. Fire signed off. Our understanding was this length is really to accommodate emergency services. Really, maybe you're more familiar with the legislative intent, but my understanding is it's kind of a fire, maybe something you would see in a WUI code with heavily wooded areas and steep topography where exiting the development might be challenging. For that reason, my understanding is that Public Works Engineering and the Fire District has signed off on this proposal, and that is why we ended up proceeding in the manner that we did with our design. And those are all of my initial comments. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Grace? Okay. Yeah, I think you covered, first one was just going to be what were the community concerns, but it sounds as though you had already covered those. For the, what do you envision for the road maintenance? Is there going to be an HOA established or private road maintenance agreement?
It is going to be, road maintenance is outlined in the CCNRs.
Okay.
And Chris, do you want to elaborate on that? Sure. I'm going to defer to council on this.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. And in terms of the earlier comments on the cul-de-sac length, that quarter mile is where we start looking to see should there be a second point of egress for fire or emergency, but you're correct.
And we did in the CCNRs for the HOA that will be developed for Sunbear Estates include extensive provisions about shared access driveway, the maintenance of that driveway, shared maintenance cost responsibility between the residents of each of the lots, standards to not necessarily pave, but keep in a gravel condition consistent with Elbert County Code, and all those sorts of things, as well as snow removal and those types of matters.
Thank you. Anything? No? Okay, I guess at this point I'd open for public comment if there's anybody that would like to speak regarding this application. Okay, seeing none in the room, I don't believe we had anybody that wanted to be called or sent any email input.
No, we didn't get any.
Okay, so with that, I'll close public comment at this time. And I guess we do need to ask the applicant if you're good with the conditions of approval that were proposed. So,
Yes, we're good with the conditions of approval.
I'd like to ask staff a couple questions. As I went through the packet, Danny, the fire department has a variety of fees here. Number 4 on the fire flow requirement, but also it has impact fees and plan review fees. It looks like the fire flow requirement, they've decided to do cash in lieu. So those total just under $20,000. Do you know when that has been paid, or if it has been paid, or what the requirement is for that?
For Elizabeth Fire,
Yes.
I believe it's about $1,000 per lot that will be created, and then there will be additional impact fees during residential construction for fire flow. So as I understand it, they're invoiced and they'll have to pay before recordation.
As it goes along, as the process goes. Okay, and then you and I had briefly communicated about the subdivision improvement agreement. Could you just, for everybody's benefit, a quick overview of what exactly that entails?
Yeah, so I spoke
pretty
to
simple.
Bart this week, and the subdivision improvement agreement is in final form right now. It mainly includes the provision about maintaining the road to Elbert County standards, and that it'll be a private road. And there's no other public improvements going toward this project.
Okay, thank you.
if there are no other questions or comments from up here, I guess, first, since we're running through several, I'll just, without a vote, ask if there's anybody that objects to the rezone. Okay, if not, then I think a motion to approve rezone preliminary and final plots would be in order,
Handle it as one motion.
since we opened this one hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Sun Bear Estates rezone RZ-23-18837, and also approve Sun Bear Estates preliminary and final plat FP-23-18837.
Second.
With conditions of approval?
Oh, and you have to follow the conditions of approval.
Still second.
Okay, thank you. All righty, and I'm assuming, Danny, just the documenting of the final plat is an approval of the variance on the cul-de-sac length as well? Okay. All righty, so with that, we've got a proper motion made to approve the rezone and preliminary and final plats for Sun Bear Estates. All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. So I would accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the public hearing on Sun Bear Estates preliminary and final plat and the rezone.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to close public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're out of public hearing. Thank you very much. Grace, it was nice to see you in your new role. Yes, at this point, we're going to take a short recess. How much time do we need, Amanda? Okay, a 10-minute recess, and then we'll hear the variances of the Board of Adjustments.
Fantastic. Happy to help.
Thanks.
All righty. Same rhythm as last time in terms of presentation and staff applicant public comment and decision. A little different in that this is a variance, so we're actually forming as the Board of Adjustment. So I would ask for a motion to open the core variances Board of Adjustments.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we open as the Board of Adjustments for entertaining the core variance.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open the core variance as the Board of Adjustments. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So with that, I will turn it over to, I believe, Jennifer is briefing. Yep. So the floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioners. Can you all see my screen? I'm sharing the presentation.
Yes, you are sharing. Yep.
Fantastic. Okay, so, yep, as by way of introduction, my name is Jennifer Gardner. I'm a senior planner with Logan Simpson, and we are contracted to represent Elbert County planning staff on this application. Now I need to get technology to work on my side. Okay, so I'll just go over some brief details of this application, and then I believe the applicant is there as well to present some additional information as needed. So this variance request is for a distance variance for a substation and transmission line, and Article 4E supplemental standards of the current Elbert County zoning resolution under Section 25 Utility Service Facility. Item A2 states that transmission lines are not to be located within a quarter mile of existing subdivisions. Item B1 states that substations may not be located within a quarter mile of existing subdivisions. Item B2 does state that circumstances may exist that would allow the Board of Adjustment some leverage in approving an application such as this. So the variance is asking for variance from that quarter mile request. So the project is located along County Road 174. There is a substation that will be placed, or that is proposed to be placed west of Kiowa Bennett Road. That is not part of this variance. The transmission line runs along that section to a location a little bit west of County Road 29, where the Spring Valley substation is proposed to be located. Spring Valley substation and that transmission line, or portions of that transmission line, are what we're talking about today. So the applicant is Core Electric Cooperative. There are multiple property owners involved in this long stretch of transmission line and substations. The application was submitted on June 19th of 2023. We went through a review process and a referral process, and we are here at this hearing today, August 23rd, 2023. The project was noticed in compliance with the zoning and subdivision regulations. Just wanted to provide a map. This was in the applicant's packet to highlight the location of the proposed substations and transmission line, as you can see along County Road 174. The two subdivisions that are affected by this application are the Spring Valley Ranch and Sun Country Meadows subdivisions. Just to kind of highlight this encroachment that we are here for today, as you can see, the green is the subdivision buffered out a quarter mile. So that's showing distance 1/4 mile from the existing subdivision, which, as you can see, overlaps with the Spring Valley substation. We asked the applicant to also add the black dash line to show the impact of that substation kind of in the reverse, so we can see which parcels of that subdivision are actually affected by the quarter mile location. Now, as you can see, the transmission line running along County Road 174, it's that magenta or pink line. It is proposed to be located along the County Road 174 corridor on the south side of the road until you get to just west of County Road 29, where it will jump to the north side of the road. And again, you can see in green the the area that's within a quarter mile of the subdivision, and the black dashed line is the quarter mile from the transmission line. So you can see these 6 residential parcels are affected. Similarly, running a little bit further east down the road, we've got about, I believe, 13 residential lots in the Sun Country Meadows subdivision that would be affected by this quarter mile location. Oh, as I stated earlier, this was sent out for referral per the zoning regulations requirements. We did hear back from 4 of the referral agencies, Colorado Parks and Wildlife. They sent a letter back just stating that that the substation itself will cause some wildlife fragmentation. So wildlife that's moving through that area will now have to circulate around the substation. But they had no specific concerns with the application. They just wanted to make note of that and make sure that the applicant was considering that in their citing of the substation, which they agreed that they had been. Colorado Division of Water Resources, Rattlesnake Fire Protection District, and Elbert County Assessor's Office all reported back with no comments and no objection. I'm going to run through the review criteria. As you're considering this application today, you'll want to consider the review criteria in the zoning regulations, Article 3J7, review criteria A through E. Review criteria A states that by reason of exceptional narrowness, shallowness, or shape of a specific piece of property, topographic conditions, or other extraordinary and exceptional situation or condition of the piece of property, the strict application of the regulation would result in peculiar and undue practical difficulties for, or peculiar and unnecessary hardship on the owner of the property. The applicant reports that exceptional conditions exist due to the extent of the existing subdivisions in the area that the project is designed to serve. Just wanted to show kind of that alignment again. Item B, the extraordinary and exceptional situation or condition on the property that is stated as the reason for the proposed variance is not self-imposed. The applicant has stated that the project is necessary to provide additional electric capacity to existing and proposed development in the area of the project. So the conditions that are requiring this variance are not self-imposed. The applicant may go over this in their presentation, but I just wanted to highlight the area that is anticipated for service by this new transmission line and substation. Item C, the proposed variance complies with the purpose and intent of the standard to be varied and generally observes the spirit of the zoning regulations. The project has been cited to minimize overall impact by locating the transmission line in an existing road corridor and the substation set back from County Road 174 to reduce visual impact. And wanted to highlight, this is in the applicant's packet, but they have been working with the potential developer of this site. There is a potential development in this general location that they've been working with to accommodate this substation in conjunction with some other potential commercial and residential development. Item D, the proposed variance will not substantially impair the appropriate use or development of adjacent property. And as we just said, the Spring Valley substation was selected to allow for commercial development of adjacent property. A variance for part of the substation site will not impair their development. And then part 2 of this is the transmission line will be located on the opposite side of the existing subdivision in an existing road corridor, as we've stated before. The location may impact some views slightly, but will not impact overall use of those properties. And finally, item E, the proposed variance is the minimum variance that will afford relief with the least modification possible of the zoning regulations. And The applicant has stated that the substation is currently sited at the outer extent of the available space on the proposed property. And in order to route the transmission line in the existing roadway for minimal visual and other impacts and tie into the proposed substation, it is also at the minimum required variance. So with that, the Community and Economic Development Department does recommend approval of this variance application to exempt the project from the quarter-mile distance requirement from the existing subdivision. There are a couple of conditions. The applicant will be required to remove the public hearing signs within 7 days of a decision by the Board of Adjustment. The variance shall become effective only until all fees are paid and the variance resolution is recorded. Recordation shall be within 180 days of the BOA approval. And then formal applications shall be submitted for a minor 1041 application, a special use review, minor plat, and site development plan prior to full project approval. With that, I will turn it back over to the Board of Adjustment. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Do we have any questions for staff at this time?
Not yet.
Okay. There's no questions from this room at the time for you, Jennifer, but we may be calling back on you. I would invite the representatives from CORE to present at this point.
Thank you, Board of County Commissioners, and thank you, Planning, for presenting the project. My name is Brooke Hines, and I represent CORE. We have several people here in attendance. I won't go through all their names, but I appreciate being able to get on the docket today. So I'm here to present on the Elbert County System Improvement Project. So I'll do a brief background about CORE, and then we'll go into the project. CORE is a nonprofit cooperative with 5,000 square mile territory within 11 counties in Colorado. They're the largest rural cooperative in Colorado, serving more than 170 member homes and 300,000 total members. CORE serves the northwest portion of Elbert County, where the project is located. And the Elbert County System Improvement Project consists of a new double circuit 115 kilovolt transmission line, approximately 5.7 miles, and 2 new substations, Spring Valley and Outback. The purpose of the project is to improve overall distribution service in the area, to provide additional capacity and reduce outages, and to accommodate current and anticipated growth and development in the area. I wanted to go over a brief timeline of, I call it, major permitting milestones for the project. Attempts have been made to permit this project back in 2010 and 2011. It was coupled with the Kiowa Brick Center project at that time. Both of those were denied. So restarting in September 2021, there was a Elbert County Board of County Commissioners meeting where the project was introduced again as it's separate from Kiowa Brick Center. Introduced the study area, various preliminary substation locations, preliminary routes, and to discuss the substation siting with the Deer Valley, or what was to become Morstead development. The project was presented again in June of 2022 to kind of hone in on those substation locations, to discuss some of the preliminary routes. At that time, there were 4, and to discuss the most recent siting in the Deer Valley or Morstead development. As you move through the timeline, you can see October 2022 is when we had our first open house, and then we had the Elbert County determination meeting in December. In January 2023, we had scheduled a second open house, but was canceled due to weather. It was a horrible winter storm that just decided to happen that day. Rescheduled, had the second open house in March. The day before that, we met with, actually here at the Economic Development meeting to give a briefing to those folks. And then June in 2023 is when we submitted the variance application, and that brings us up to today where we're having the hearing. And as Jennifer mentioned in her conditions, we are anticipating submitting more applications for review in the near future. 1041 and special use will be next. So I wanted to emphasize the public outreach that CORE has done. As I mentioned, we had the 2 open houses. There is a project website as well that we have kept updated. The variance hearing is on there, as well as the latest route and some of the photo simulations that we've done for the project. We've met with multiple interested parties, different times, developers, and with the Elbert County Environmental Alliance, and have briefed them on the project. And we've sent a letter to the developers regarding the capacity constraints that they are needing to be aware of in the area. And that letter is there on the right. And I think that was also sent to Elbert County. So Jennifer showed this figure, and it's a pretty powerful figure. Ideally, CORE can operate each of the substations at half of their available capacity. In the event a substation needs to be shut down for maintenance, the load can be transferred to another substation in the area so that service to CORE's members continues uninterrupted. However, the 3 substations, Homestead, Elizabeth, and Kiowa, in the vicinity of the project, are each currently operating at over 50% of their available capacity due to increasing demand from existing members as well as new development in the area that is connecting to CORE's existing system. The substations operating at over 50% capacity create reliability issues for existing CORE members in the area. CORE's existing infrastructure can only serve 170 new homes. However, Elbert County has approved and platted almost 7,500 new home locations in the project area, and new commercial development is also anticipated. The Spring Valley substation will provide electricity through distribution feeders to existing developments, including Elkhorn Ranch, Sun Country Meadows, Spring Valley, T&M Ranches, and Miller Ranch, as well as the proposed Morstead, Spring Valley, and EC West developments. Over the next 10 years, Elbert County is expected to need approximately 3,000 additional units to meet demand. The November 2022 Elbert County Housing Needs Assessment concluded that 70%, or a little over 2,100 of those units, will be needed in the Elizabeth Parker zip codes where the project will be located. Without additional electricity that will be provided by the project, less than 10% of those 2,100 units that will be needed can be accommodated. The Elbert County Comprehensive Plan acknowledges that this emerging community pattern, stating, "It is expected that the majority of the western portion of the county will continue to experience further subdivision of lands as population continues to shift more people from the Denver metro." The project is proposed within an area as illustrated in the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan projected growth pressures map that is expected to experience the greatest degree of population growth and development in the county. Additional electrical infrastructure is needed to support this development. The project will shift loading from the overloaded substations, increasing reliability and decreasing outages in the area. So as you can see with the proposed loading with this map, how that previous map with the hole in it is filled in by the project. And although the Outback substation, it is part of the project, it is not part of the variance. It will provide electricity to areas east and north, including EC East. So the variance area, this is the map that Jennifer highlighted in her presentation. So CORE is seeking a variance for portions of the project under Elbert County Zoning Regulations, Article 5, Supplemental Standards. The variance is requested for 2.4 miles of the transmission line and most of the Spring Valley substation site. The variance is not needed for approximately 3.21 miles of the transmission line, and as I mentioned earlier, the Outback substation site. Corps did consider alternatives and conducted a routing and siting study, which was completed for multiple substation sites and 4 routes. So the Spring Valley substation location was based on accommodation from the Morstead development. However, this accommodation was limited to the siting the substation within one of 3 areas designated for commercial mixed use, which collectively accounted for only 9% of the proposed subdivision. Elbert County staff requested that substations should not be placed at intersections, eliminating 2 of the 3 commercial mixed-use areas. It was also requested by Elbert County staff to shift the substation to the north end of the property to allow potential future commercial development to the south along the proposed extension of County Road 174. This shifting will also allow for commercial development to screen the substation from 174. The transmission line route siting included 4 alternatives as shown on the left figure. All were partially located within the quarter-mile of this existing Spring Valley subdivision. 3 were partially located within the quarter-mile of the Sun Country Meadows subdivision. Alternative that avoided routing within the quarter-mile of the Sun Country Meadows was eliminated as it resulted in difficult engineering and additional easements and crossed Craft Agency's main entrance into EC West along County Road 29. So as Jennifer referenced in her presentation, we believe the project, the Elbert County System Improvement Project, meets the Elbert County variance review criteria. It's difficult to avoid areas within a quarter-mile of existing substation or subdivisions due to constraints, and the project was sited overall to minimize overall visual impact. As I mentioned, the Spring Valley substation was set back from the future extension of County Road 174 and will be screened by future commercial development. The transmission line is co-located in an existing road corridor, and the transmission line located on opposite side of the road from the existing Spring Valley, T&M Ranches, and Sun Country Meadows subdivisions. I thank you all for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions at this time? I do. Just to make sure I was tracking, you said currently your capacity to take on additional homes is about 170 units
Correct.
without this?
Correct.
And I know there was a lot, and then I guess a general comment, there was quite a bit of discussion about proposed future subdivisions that haven't come before us that really aren't, I mean, so nothing decided here impacts or bears on a decision we may make in the future, but
Sure.
but it seemed pretty clear that just to build out the entitlements of Spring Valley, additional power is required.
Definitely, yes.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
correct.
All right. So with that, at this time, I would open for public comment, if there is any. Ma'am?
My name is Pat Wood, and I live at 43371 Somerset Court, and that is in the Sun Country subdivision. The power line, as I just understood it, has been moved back from the, is it on the south side of the road? Because the existing poles are on the north side of the road.
Yeah, just for the record, I think there was a nod, yes, that
Okay.
they would be set up,
All right.
set back on the south side.
How far is it off of 174?
If you want to make testimony to us and ask questions, we'll bring those to the
My
applicant.
concern is I have 2 main concerns: the value of my property going down because of its location, and because I use fixed wireless internet, and I did bring this up at one of the open houses. I don't know the impact, but I do know it crosses right where that line would come across, so there could be interference to my internet access. And those are my 2 major concerns.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Much appreciated. Do we have anybody else that would like to make comment? Sir? And if you could, just provide your name and address. And then
My name is Stephen Spar. My address is 7813 and 7811 County Road 174. I'm just to the east of the TMN ranches, which you left me out. So I also have the broadband internet tower direct link on my property, which may be interfered with its transmission for internet and broadband. I will be well within the quarter mile because my home is probably 300 feet from the road itself. So I am asking the board to deny this variance.
Thank you, sir. And if I may, what size is your property?
I have, originally it was 209 acres. I parceled out 35 to my daughter to build a house just down from me.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Do we have any other public comment in the room? Sir?
My name's Jim Marshall, and I'm the landowner at Spring Valley Ranch. I do speak on behalf of Morstead as well. And I've been involved with Spring Valley since 1999. One correction I'd make to one of the slides that was up there is Spring Valley was listed as a proposed project. It's not proposed, it's zoned. Water, sewer, and road infrastructure has been constructed. There's over 700 homes. We're approved for 1,786 homes. And we do have about 367 lots yet that we haven't platted, but the rest is at least platted. I've had extensive dealings with Corps over the years and very extensive dealings in the last couple of years. And something that nobody's brought up, I think Corps did a nice job of explaining why they have to go where they're going. There's never an ideal location for a transmission line or a substation. And I've had to develop around them for years in Parker and other jurisdictions where we know how to do it, and it works. They've talked about redundancy and the 50% capacity issues and reliability. Those are all important to everybody, not just in the future, but the people that live out there now. And the other thing that's come up and that's really been highlighted in my life is what's going on with the state of Colorado and natural gas and XL. We rely on XL out here for our gas. And I had an experience that started about 2.5 years ago. I've gotten to know a lot of people at XL very closely now. And there's a movement to move what has historically been gas, such as our heating and other things that we take for granted, and move them to the electric grid. None of the power companies are ready for this, and the state's pushing this to happen faster than anybody can handle it. We need this substation, we need these transmission lines, and I know Corps' done everything they can to find the best routes and the best place to develop this. And I was very involved in the site selection as well, because at one point we were looking at putting it on Spring Valley, but the Morstead site is a better location. So anyway, that's all I've got to say. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Do you have anybody else in the room? Seeing none. And Amanda, I don't believe we had anybody that wanted to be called for comment. Okay. So with that, I would close public comment and would ask the applicant if we could answer the question on how far south does your right-of-way
Sure.
expand?
Yeah, it's approximately 100 feet, or 97.5 feet.
Beyond the right-of-way?
From the center
for the
line
road?
of 174.
Okay.
Mhm.
Center line. And then, I guess, to express concern regarding interference with wireless connectivity is, it's probably outside specific knowledge, but is there, yeah, if there's been, if there is somebody that could speak to that, if that is a concern or has been interference?
Yeah, Brooks Kaufman with Core Electric Cooperative. We haven't had any concerns with that, with internet, but also that direct wire link, it's set at the house at a certain height, usually about 15 to 20 feet. And our lines, our transmission line is about 26 and a half feet. If it was a crow's flies, that signal will actually probably go underneath the line if that is an interference issue. But majority of the time, it does not interfere with our line or theirs, their internet.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions for?
I don't know if I should ask this when you make your next application on this thing, but have you talked to the landowners in the area about right-of-ways?
That is ongoing, yes. We have made attempts to contact, specifically for the variance, all the landowners, and then we are reaching out to landowners and in discussions for easements, yes.
All righty. Anything on your end?
Do you have some in place now, easements, or there's everybody's still up in the air on it?
We have one in place so far.
One in
Yes.
place so far.
Working on the rest,
Okay.
yep.
Trying to think, there was a question property owners was asked.
So the normal is a quarter mile. How much of a variance are we actually talking about? Is it 100 feet? It's going to be within that quarter mile? Is it 300 feet within that quarter mile? Does my question making sense?
As far as offset, the transmission line is offset by about 100 feet from the center line of 174 currently. The right-of-way width will be 75 feet for the transmission line. So it does go through the quarter-mile variance for T&M, Sun Country, and Spring Valley.
Yeah, so those property lines are on the just north side of that one.
Yes, yes.
So it is significant difference between where the line will be and what the quarter mile is, where the line's going. Might not making sense.
Well, I'm trying to think about what, I don't know that I understand the question.
So if normal
Maybe
is
I'll
a
let Brooks
quarter mile is the normal requirement, how close are we getting with the line in the substation?
Yeah, again, Brooks Kaufman with Core Electric Cooperative. In certain areas like T&M Ranches and Sun Country is a little bit farther away, but T&M Ranches, the transmission line will probably be within 250 to 300 feet from the property in the corner of that intersection. As you get down by Spring Valley, it gets a little bit farther away from those lots, and it's about 500 to 600 feet away. And then the substation's probably a good, I would say, maybe a third of a mile from Spring Valley Ranch. So it's kind of tucked as far back as we could. But I think I'm answering your question. Where is it within that buffer is kind of what you're asking, correct?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I guess for the other gentleman, our code requires a variance within a quarter mile of subdivisions. Technically, if you parcel a property to 35s or greater, it's not considered a subdivision and under Colorado law, so that's likely why you weren't included on the map that was shown. So. Any other questions or comments?
The only comment I have is that what was presented here, that there's only enough electricity in the existing line for another 170 homes. And this is in one of the most highly developed areas of Elbert County. And because of our time, it's pretty hard to be more than 1,320 feet away from somebody's subdivision somewhere. But we still need the extra electricity. So one of the things is we've got to try and work with the residents to the extent we can, but we have to recognize also our need.
Correct.
Yeah, and I was going to say that, and the comments about future demands in terms, I agree, at least from, the direction the state seems to be going. If it continues, I'm not even sure if gas furnaces will be allowed to be replaced with gas furnaces in the future. And certainly more pushes towards electric vehicles. And regardless of what we think of it, we've got to look at kind of future proofing for current residents as well. I know there's quite a few other applications associated with this to come, but in order to further planning, it's obviously something you need to know whether you can use the ground or not. I actually, from dealing with perhaps other unnamed electrical operators, it's nice that you were very forthcoming about the multiple routes that you had looked at and why they were discarded or not as feasible as what you did propose with the variant. So I appreciate that. I guess I have no further questions or comments. If there aren't any others, I guess we would proceed to a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion that we approve the core variance as presented.
I have a motion and a second to approve the variance as requested. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And again, I just do want to emphasize that there's at least 3 other applications associated with this. So I'm sure we'll be seeing yourselves. We'll be seeing you throughout for some time to come on any final approvals.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So with that, I would ask for a motion to close public hearing on this item.
Mr. Chair, I move we close public hearing on the core variance.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. We're out of public hearing. I don't believe we have any other business before us today, so I would accept a motion to adjourn for the day.
Mr. Chair.
Chairman, I move we adjourn our Board of Adjustment meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn the Board of Adjustments, and I'm assuming as Board of County Commissioners as well. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're adjourned for the day. Thank you.